might be pretty challenging right now to decide if the UX design career is still worth it in 2025. The number of tech jobs available, they are in decline, and people are dropping out from tech altogether. I spent 16 years in UX design, see how this industry is evolving. I started as a freelancer, then I switched to working in agencies, and then in 2019 I became a product designer in big tech companies where I work as of today. With this video, I aim to give you a bigger picture of what is happening right now in UX design, and it might save you time on transitioning if you will decide that the UX design career is not for you. My name is Ines, my channel is about UX design, subscribe. Now, before starting with this video, I was actually in doubt because there are a lot of videos like that on YouTube already, and I made sure I watched them all. And you know what I noticed? That those videos, they all separated to two camps. It's either the camp where people are glorifying this career and even glamorizing it, saying that this is the best career to start in 2025, or in another camp people are saying that the time has passed already, you should not start in UX design if you did not do it already because it's impossible, the career is moving in the wrong direction and you should not bother. I was kinda unsatisfied with both kinds of videos because in my opinion it is not that simple, and I think UX design field is more complex than it is somewhat portrayed by people sometimes on YouTube. And if you want a simple bite-sized video that lean to either of those opinions, that correlates to what you already believe, then probably my video will not be for you, because here I really want to talk a bit more in depth on what is going on in the industry in general, and I'm not gonna speculate on some economical graphs, on the statistics, because honestly I'm not an economist. Technically, I am an economist and general manager because this is my bachelor and master's, but I don't use it, and honestly, I have forgotten everything already. So I'm gonna stick to what I know, and I'm gonna stick to what I believe is going to happen in the industry and you might want to consider before you starting in UX design in 2025. So let's go. First, let's start with positive things, because I'm working in the UX design career for 16 years, I'm planning to work in it, so it's not that horrendous after all. And the first thing to consider is, in my opinion, the industry as a whole. And we are talking about the tech industry still. So yes, I'm going to admit that the industry is going through a significant change. It is not what it used to be 4 years ago. The industry is at decline overall. Many people are getting laid off every day still, and the number of job openings is still not tremendously good. But we are actually in the recession, or in the crisis, or in a sort of decline. I think the economists, they did not come up with an idea how to name this situation we're in. And if you look at other industries that are not tech-enabled, you will notice that they are probably in the even worse condition. Yes, there is all this conversation about the doom and gloom, but tech is doing quite good still. There are still roles, there are still jobs, there are still prospects, what is, in my opinion, even more important. Because with the introduction of AI, we just have a new technology to adopt and to match with our users' needs. So, in my opinion, criticizing tech for not being what it used to be 5 years ago is missing a bigger picture, and within this bigger picture, it's clearly visible that tech is doing well, it's just the world overall is not doing great at the moment. And the second point that I want to bring is that tech is not one industry. There are a lot of industries, and maybe all of the industries right now, that are tech-enabled. So, if you are choosing a profession that is within tech industry, you are actually not locking yourself with some other economical sector. And I think that enables us, people who work in tech, to switch industries without actually changing the job. So if retail is doing good right now, as it used to do during pandemic, then it makes sense for you to search for a position in retail. When it's done already with this industry and something is on pause, you can switch to an industry that is growing right now at the moment. Maybe it is an AI industry, entertainment, whatever, and you are going to use the same skill set that you used to have in retail to transition to other industries. And in my opinion, it is actually pretty awesome, because I would be probably very much worried if I knew that my profession could only be implied to this particular industry in this particular point in time, and then yes, this industry could be automated, it could not be doing well, and I will be stuck with it. But those were general topics about the tech industry. Now let's talk specifically about the UX design and what I find appealing in this profession still. So first of all, for me, UX design is a perfect combination of creativity, business value, and problem solving. Because I tried to be a graphic designer in the earlier stage of my career, that was actually my aspiration. It's just I could not land a job as a graphic designer, and I was able to find a job as a web designer. But when I started doing some graphic design projects, I quickly realized that this is not my piece of cake, because I had very little arguments that are objective, and people are judging my work based on their own taste. And in time, I found the fight about tastes is really meaningless, and people either like how I do things or they don't like how I do things, but I have no opportunity to prove, to lean on some arguments that are logical to improve my work, to improve the perception of my work. And I don't want to say that graphic design is bad. I think every industry has their challenges. It was just not my thing. And also I found the tasks that I get are a bit more repetitive and a bit more about the same. So the same logotype, the same business cards, the same branding features everybody needed. And at the same time, UX design turned out to be a perfect combination for me, where I could exercise my creativity, my love to visual design things, and at the same time I had very solid arguments that are based on real research and data that I can back up my work with, and there will be less room to interpretations or tastes as I notice it is the case in graphic design. And even as of today, sometimes I'm thinking, okay, if that is not UX design, that what else? And I cannot name another industry that has all these features. The next thing that I think is important to take into account when talking about switching in UX design in 2025 is that it is relatively easy to start in the industry still. What I mean is that you don't need a degree to succeed in UX design. In my opinion, this is a big plus, because there are people who either don't trust in modern degrees or they cannot afford to get a degree and to just spend 4-6 years in a university, or just there are some people who don't love the idea to spend additional 4-6 years of their time before they can start working. Yes, of course you can work while you are studying, and I actually did that throughout all 6 years in my university, but I found it to be really challenging and really brutal at times. And honestly, I would probably not choose to go through the same if I had a chance to decide for my education for a second time. In my opinion, having something that brings so much value to companies, to users, to people around, that you don't need a formal education is a real privilege. And I don't know if this opportunity will be open for any longer, but while it is there, I would suggest anyone to use that, because maybe in some point in future, when the competition will be too fierce for us to just value bootcamps and self-studying, we will all have to go through universities. Maybe we don't know that yet, but as of today, as in 2025, it is still possible to do a bootcamp or to just study materials on YouTube, read some books, and then you will be able to create a decent portfolio. And I have seen many portfolios from self-studying individuals, and I see that all the time, that it is possible for them to land a job. And what I value even more when it comes to education is that not only you can start for free or without a degree, is that you can start relatively fast. So you definitely don't need 4-6 years until you have a decent portfolio. If you are being smart about your UX education, you can actually build your portfolio in a year or year and a half, and it will be pretty decent, like really. And I've seen people are doing this all the time. And if you think in the lifetime perspective, then 1 year or year and a half, it's nothing. And then you have a career that will guide your efforts for many years to come. So I do believe it is a fantastic opportunity right now, but maybe it's gonna be changing soon, and in the second part of this video I'm going to talk about that. Another point that I value in UX design, and that's why I would choose this career if I would had to start it again in 2025, is that you can work remotely. And yes, there are less opportunities like that than it was during pandemic, but if you think about that, our parents, they did not have those opportunities at all. And I think it is a miracle that we live in the times where it is possible, because it allows people from countries that are not yet that economically developed to get a decent life, to get a meaningful job, and to work with people around the world. And really, the boundaries between countries, between political structures, they are making less and less sense. And yes, of course, the governments, they are fighting against that because they would love to people to contribute in their local economies. It's all very clear, but I think the trend is there, and I think it is going to be only more and more prominent in the future. And although yes, it is challenging to get a remote job right now, but it is possible, and I would personally bet my life and my career on something that will allow me to do that, even if it is only possible in rare cases and only maybe if I am a bit more mature, maybe not from the very start of my career journey, because I don't know what's going to happen in the world basically tomorrow. And I don't want to lock myself into a political system, and I don't want to be a victim of political games and consequences. So I find a sheer thought that it is possible in case I need it very, very supportive. And the last point to the bucket about why I would still choose UX design in 2025 is that I just really like people around me, and I think the work is generally very fun. This is a very subjective point, but so far I really enjoy working with people with whom I'm working with. Maybe I was particularly lucky for those 16 years, but I have never had a situation where I think that we are not matching with people around me in terms of values and the world views. I don't know if it is even something valuable for others when they decide on their career, but since I had an experience of having an internship in the economical general management background, and there I met people who believe that they need to appear at work all buttoned up with a tie, and they were looking at me somewhat disapprovingly when I was wearing something different, in my jeans, for example. And I think this is not the environment that I would choose myself, and I'm happy that at that point in time I was privileged enough to choose something that appealed to me personally, and that's why I also stick to it, because I don't really know if I wanna go and explore other industries where people might have different worldviews. And another small point is just that I love toolings that we use as UX designer. I love Figma, I love Miro, I love FigJam, I love Notion, and I love that we can choose between products that are super awesome at the same time, whereas different industries, for example retail, where I work, they might not enjoy that variety and that perfect user experience that those tools are bringing to me personally in the everyday of my working life. And yes, it is on us as UX designers to make those tools enjoyable for others, but we're not there yet objectively. Now you might be wondering, where is the AI in all of this? Haven't we forgotten to mention the elephant in the room? Aren't we all gonna be soon out of jobs because of the contractions of automations? And I actually noticed that in the videos that are talking about the value in UX design career in 2025, people are usually start with AI as almost it is the major topic on the table. Whereas in my opinion, AI is just another technology where we are yet to surface all use cases. And I don't know, why are we still fear-mongering people about AI, whereas it is something that we UX designers are going to be working with and going to be working on. Let me explain. I believe that AI is not only will be automating parts of our jobs that will be happening and is happening, and we're going to talk about that of course, but it is also a tool, a technology that we UX designers are designing for. As I said, I believe that we are in the very beginning of this technology appearing in our lives, and we did not found all the use cases we can use it for. And who is going to be doing this? UX designers and tech workers. And if you're fearing AI, that is also perfectly normal. Maybe you are witnessing how your day-to-day life is changing due to the presence of certain AI tools in some other industries and some other jobs, and that's why you are considering to switch to UX design. This is not gonna happen with us the same way how it is happening in some other industries, because first of all, we are going to design for AI as well. And I don't know if this is the winning strategy, nobody knows, but if I were making a bet for the next 5 years for my career, I would rather stay to the industries that design for AI and not in the industries for which AI is being designed for, if that makes sense. So if you want to be on the front line, I would definitely consider UX UI design, because we are in the unique position where we match technologies, business needs and user needs to certain products, to certain use cases that we enable people to use. And just another technology is another new opportunity for new startups to appear, for them to hire more UX designers, and then for us to figure out those use cases. But let's indeed talk about the dark side of AI and the dark side of the trends, which I would probably take into account as well, and I might decide really carefully if UX design industry in 2024 and forward is really for me. But before we dive into it, if you like this video and you want to receive more videos like that, give me thumbs up and hit the subscribe button down below. That's important for me and for YouTube algorithms. And we are moving on. So let's really discuss how the automation is going to affect UX design. And to start discussing that, we need to acknowledge that the UX industry has changed drastically over the recent years. When I started 16 years ago, in the scope of work of a UX designer or web designer was only one thing. You had to design one web page in one breakpoint, and that's it. And we were designing it in Photoshops, we were not using design systems, we were not using components, and the work was indeed very simple. It was easy to master, but at the same time it was not really productive, because Photoshop was not specifically tailored to UX UI design and web design in general, so we had to do a lot of manual work. For example, to prepare this one-page website with one breakpoint, we had to manually cut out elements and hand them over as PNGs to our fellow engineers. Then the new generation of tools appeared as Adobe XD or Sketch. Those were predecessors of Figma as we know it today. And they enabled us to use components to create multiple artboards in one page and to design for different breakpoints. That was already a big improvement in our productivity, because we could just design more things, having them all in one place and using components. And then the scope has changed even more, and we started to incorporate user research and usability testing in our day-to-day lives, because some parts of our time were freed up from doing manual work. And this is how the scope of UX design kept growing over the years. And with new tools, with new automation, it's going to continue happening. And this is how the profession and the industry mature and changes. But that also means that we now, as UX designers, take a bigger scope than we used to do 16 years ago, because previously you had to only master one thing. Designs in Photoshops for one breakpoint. Now you need to master usability tests, interviews, design system, components, Figma, different breakpoints, different use cases, animations. And if you think about that, those tools, they require certain mastery in their own, and you will have to dedicate some time into mastering animations and breakpoints separately. And seeing how the industry has evolved before, and with new tools that are coming almost daily, I could only predict that will accelerate. So that is, I think, the major implication of AI on the industry, at least on UX UI design, and I don't think people talk about that enough. Maybe it's just because many people, they have started in UX design in the recent 3-4 years and they did not see this gradual change, but since I saw it, and I predict that it's going to be like that in the next 16 years, this is something that is often missed out of the discussion. But it is something to consider if you are about to start in the industry, because you will start today in 2025, but in 5 years the industry is gonna change completely and you will have to do different work from what you have started, and there is no guarantee that you will like this work. And let's talk about one particular projection that I see is happening right now, and I believe it's going to happen, is that your work is going to consist a lot with people management and stakeholder management. Because if previously we only took part in a very small piece of the process, creating one landing page, then it means that we had to collaborate with some managers or founders or clients and with engineers. And those were only 2 touch points with other peers across us. But right now, as we are taking more and more bits in our work days, we are now crunching data, we are doing research, we are doing testing, we are doing A/B testing, we are just talking and collaborating with the enormous number of people. Those are analysts, engineers, researchers, QA managers, you name it. And that's why my day recently, and days of other people that I know, even though they might be on junior levels, mid-career levels, they consist of way more meetings and alignments and presentations that it used to be before. And furthermore, it accelerates with your growth in UX design career ladder. So you can project that you will start in 2025, and in 5 years you will be talking with people way more than you are doing the actual designs, because also the actual designs part is being less and less and is automated even more and more. So I don't know if you will like it, right? It's the question for everyone to answer. Do you like collaborating with people? Do you like presenting? Do you like to prove your point? Because this is what you will have to do constantly and at more and more quantities. So I don't know actually if I would go on with this career if I knew that upfront, because I am by nature a pretty shy person. Yes, you see me on YouTube, on Instagram, but this is the adopted skill for me. I was not natural, and actually I adopted the skill, I adopted the storytelling techniques because I had to do this at work all the time. And I initially thought that it's gonna be a fun work when I'm gonna work at my computer, at my laptop, and I'm not gonna be bothered by people that much. That was my initial inspiration and aspiration for the design career. But it turns out to be completely different, and it is only gonna be like that going forward. The other point that I think people are not mentioning and not talking enough is that we are going to design for AI agents. And if now we are designing for people exclusively, we talk with people, we empathize with people, and we really see the implications of our work on their day-to-day lives, now as more and more tasks are going to be performed by AI agents, this raises a good question: how the user experience will look like, and if we even need that many interfaces that are user-friendly. Because now maybe AI agents will need some different page structures, information architecture. And if a user will now be only observing how an agent is doing that on their laptop, maybe really we don't need all those fluffy informations and fluffy visuals anymore. This is a very good question. And another question is that, will you be loving this job? Because it will rather be more technical than it is right now. I personally find it is a big motivation for me that I talk with people, I solve their problems, and I really hear their feedback. And now this loop might be broken. And if you also find inspiration in what I said, then think about carefully if this is something that you want to do going forward. I personally don't think it is a big point for me. Yes, I love to talk with users to solve their problems and see immediate results, but I also think I will be able to comprehend in my head that although I'm designing for AI agents, Agents are used by people, and that's why I'm still bringing value. I don't know how yet we are going to measure the value. That's going to be an interesting question to solve. But it is something I personally can live with, and I leave it to you to decide if this is something for you as well. The next point that I'm going to mention, I think it is a point number 4. This video I'm really failing to take account. Is the prolonged career ladder. And I honestly don't know what do I feel or think about that. The thing is that since we are now taking more on our plate and we are incorporating more things in what we now believe to be a product design job or a UX UI design job, the time it takes to master all those pieces really increases, and with that our progression in the career ladders as well. And also those ladders, they are started to be more and more defined. A lot of jokes has been made about Google, I think, having a distinguished engineer, and although it also sounds fun for me as well, but I believe in UX design we are also moving to this direction. I'm working as a principal product designer right now, and previously it used to be the highest position for an individual contributor. Yet right now we already have senior principal designers, and I only think it's gonna grow and grow and grow. And if previously it used to take a person 2-3 years until they get to a senior position, and I'm a good example of that as well, I became a creative director at the age of 22. That was quite soon, you might say, especially if you consider that I started when I was 18. I knew nothing about the life, but since it was not so many things to master, I could master that in no time because of my persistence. And I also saw how people do that even faster. In a year or so, they were able to land a job as a senior designer, and they were starting to get a very decent salary with that. Right now, it is really not the case. I often feel that I need to disappoint people that join my teams because they join as associates or junior designers, and they expect that the next year they will be promoted to middle career designers because this is what they heard from content creators, from other designers who are sharing their expertise. But maybe this expertise and these situations they are sharing were happening in 2015, and it is not the case anymore. And I hate to disappoint people telling them that on average it takes 3 years until you get from a junior to a middle career, at least in the environments that I observe. Yes, there are still, I believe, ways to get there faster, but it's not always possible, just simply because there are a lot of things to master and find your way around. And many people believe that companies are actually doing that with a very bad intention, that they want to keep people in their working place, otherwise people reach the senior position and then there is no opportunities for them to grow. I think there is also truth in that, because I had to quit a couple of places previously because there was nowhere for me to grow. And right now with those career ladders we have some motivations, we know how our salary will be growing, but I also think there is a real necessity for that in terms of things to master that are coming constantly to our plate and to our job description. And if you are now in 2025 and you want to switch careers and you believe that in 3 years you're going to be a senior and you're going to match the salary that you were having in the previous career or even outpace that, I would really be careful about those expectations, and I would really measure the reality, and I would talk with people who started recently and to figure out how long it took for them, because chances are that the thing is gonna take you just longer. And talking about me, I don't know, I think I did not think that much about the career progression and all those ladders. I actually am still surprised, I think up until now, that I made it to a principal level, because that was never my aspiration. I was always looking for interesting problems to solve rather than for some titles to have, but I do care about my salary growth. But I usually did not associate it directly with career ladders, but rather for more ambitious projects and for solving more problems for people. So I don't know if I would be considering that, and it would be something that would avert me from starting in UX UI design, but I would probably think about it still carefully if I want to stay as a junior UX designer for 3-4 years. The fifth point that I'm gonna mention is something I would definitely consider, and if I knew it earlier, I don't even know if I would start in UX design altogether. But I really underestimated how much time it will take me to constantly grow and upskill as a UX designer. So I started as a designer who produces one page in one breakpoint in Photoshop, and this is what I was committing to master. And then things started to come to my plate in such a rapid speed, and I had to spend so much resources and time and money on mastering this, then that this is crazy, because I constantly go on courses, I constantly visit conferences, I constantly read books, because I just constantly have a fear of missing out and a fear of being left behind. And you know what I have seen? I have met a lot of people throughout my 16 years career journey, and some people, they stayed for many years in the places where they started without upskilling, and then really they were left behind. They were able to stay in a certain position, in a certain level for some time, until the company was serving certain clients that were also not moving forward. But eventually it collapses all the time, and people who were not upskilling, they were really in a tough situation. And I don't want this situation for me. That's why I keep upskilling. I even started teaching people also as a way to upskill myself, because if you explain something to others, you also learn it better. But if I knew how much time it's gonna take me and how much resources, I don't know if I would consider it for the second time around. And I think also many people, they underestimate that. Your study will never be over. You will finish a bootcamp, and many people think this is it. They've mastered it and they have just a portfolio that will be enough for them for many years. But it's not like that. It's only the beginning, and you don't even know how much time it's going to take you and how hard it is. And also you are going to constantly see that there are people around you that are doing better than you, that they are moving faster than you in their skills adoption, and they are outpacing you. I think this is pretty hard to experience when you are in there. I don't know, to be fair, if this is happening in other professional fields. I can only judge by my own circle, and people who are not in tech, in my opinion, they are not upskilling that much. So I know some people from architectural industry, there are definitely some certifications to get, at least in Germany, but they are moving sort of slowly, because I always have courses that I do at the time while still working full-time all the time. I have recently bought a course on creating Figma plugins myself with using some code, because I think it is necessary. I am fearing to be left behind, and I don't know if I committed to this fear to be my lifelong companion when I started in UX design. And everybody who are right now in 2025 thinking to switch to UX design or in the process of switching, I would think adopt this thought early, because maybe it will be less painful for you, because I constantly felt that I'm not enough, that there is another thing around the corner. I'm learning this skill and now I'm gonna learn the next skill, but then eventually I'm gonna be reaching the level where I am enough. But there is no such level. You are never enough, and there are always something to learn. I think in time I have adopted a certain mentality that allows me to do that and allows me to even find joy in it. But again, as I said, something to consider if you're going to commit on this lifelong. The point number 6 to consider when you are starting in this career is a bit controversial, because I think it comes as a package of being a designer, but still many people, they believe it's not gonna happen with them. I'm talking about constantly proving your worth. Because by definition, your clients and your stakeholders, they don't value UX design and UI design and designers in general. They don't see the direct connection between what you do and their business objectives. I think it is getting better and better with time, and since we are adopting more and more things, we now can talk really on the level of business, but it's not always like that for all industries, and it's not always like that for all people that they meet, stakeholders and clients that really are on the same page with you. It's rather you have to do some additional work to get on their level and to get their buy-in for your decisions. And this is a constant struggle. To be honest, if I knew that upfront it's gonna be like that, I would consider this job twice, because it really affected my imposter syndrome in the very beginning, because I thought I'm not enough and there is just a level to reach until I'm gonna be enough and until everybody would listen to me. But this level never comes. Still, you have to fight your way to get a seat on the table. You have to remind that UX design is needed to be considered and user needs are needed to be considered when taking a decision. Let's see how it's gonna happen in the next years to come. As I said, it is a positive trend for me, but for time being, we have to make it into account. And when you are studying UX design, I don't think we talk enough that it's gonna be a part of your day-to-day job, and that's why I think many people, they are sort of disappointed and they think that it is something wrong with them, whereas it just comes with a package. And the last point I want to mention that I would recommend you really carefully to consider, because I talk about that a lot on this channel and I talk about that all the time in my Instagram, because it is such a pain point that never goes away that it is something unbearable. I'm talking about the fact that job search is going to be always painful for you as a UX designer. And I'm not talking about a temporary decline in a job market, or maybe it is a permanent decline. I'm not talking even about the raising competition. It is also the case because of the things that I mentioned earlier, that you don't need a degree, you can start fast. Of course, it attracts a lot of people to the industry, so the competition is going to stay. But I'm talking specifically about the fact that for every job application in your life as a UX designer, you will have to attach your portfolio. And it was even the case before, when we were in a growing market, when there were a lot of positions available, we still had to work on our portfolio. And the thing is that what I find a bit unfair even is that other job functions as engineers or product managers or analysts, they don't have a portfolio, they just have their CV, and you know, like how much time it takes you to compile your CV and to change it. Compare it with how much time it takes you to create a decent portfolio and to describe all the work that you did. And I think you need to anticipate it more carefully, as a fact that every time a job search for you will be extremely painful and you will be resisting doing that, because on top of your full-time job, you will have to somehow find time on updating your portfolio. I actually made a video recently about how I find time for my portfolio update, because during the course of 16 years I changed a job I think 9 times, and every time I had to apply with my portfolio and I had to dedicate some time on its update. And there are some techniques that you can do that, but there are no magic solution right now. You just have to have some additional time on this, and this time is gonna be massive. So on average, for a person to create a portfolio takes a month or 3 months. I know that pretty well because I have the UX portfolio club that I lead, and people join there with one goal: to finally finish their portfolio and start on a job search. The link on the club will be down below if you also struggle with portfolio creation, but anticipate that it is gonna be always the case. Yes, you will have certain techniques on how to do this faster, you will have certain templates that you are going to prefer and you're going to use. You will figure out your way of storytelling, and eventually your projects will be better overall and it will be easier for you to tell those stories. But it is still time, and I personally also struggle to keep my portfolio always up to date. Right now my portfolio has expired completely, and every time I have an opportunity to talk with somebody about a potential job, I'm really scared that of a moment when they ask for my portfolio, because I have nothing to show. My portfolio is from 4 years when I started in Zalando, so I don't even have there my new projects. And it is a massive job to even find the resources for me to start the update. And I know that many designers who finish bootcamps, they are surprised of this additional phase when after a bootcamp, when you did all the projects, you also have to have some more time, sometimes more months, to actually get ready to start your job search. You need to get finished with your portfolio, and not every bootcamp that I know, they communicate that clearly, and not every bootcamp they support people during this phase. So people are left with not knowing what to do and surprised about how much time it actually takes. So I don't think that would be a deal breaker for me. I think it comes with every creative profession that we need to have a portfolio. But as I wanted to provide you a comprehensive picture of what could avert your decision of joining UX design forces in 2025, this is something definitely to mention. So let's conclude everything that I said. Because of the thing that I mentioned, I believe that it will be getting harder and harder to start in UX design, because we are taking more and more responsibilities to our plate. And if previously you had to only master one breakpoint in one tool, right now we're designing for a variety of situations, variety of tools and use cases, and it is perfectly fine that the entry bar is also raising. But if you're watching this video and you believe that despite of the trends that I mentioned in the second part of this video, UX design might be something for you to explore, I would suggest starting the transition now in 2025, because it's only get more and more complex. And at the same time, if you are still under the impression that UX design is a career that you can start in a year from now, and you might be thinking of quitting your job, participating in a bootcamp, and then finding a job in UX design, I would suggest you to think carefully if this is a realistic plan right now. I would probably prompt people on finding some interim solutions when they can still work on the career and in the profession that they know, finding the education in UX design and making a transition more safe and more smooth, because right now it's just taking more time that it used to take 4 or 5 years ago, and nobody can guarantee you that in a year from now you will land a job. It might happen that it will take you a couple of years, and I've seen these cases, but eventually everyone makes it if they keep going forward. At the same time, if you wanted to start in the career fast, make decent money fast, and then not learning anything else and just staying in the comfort zone, traveling and working from anywhere on the planet, I would really consider if this is a realistic picture too. Because many people during pandemic, they started in UX design with this exact motivation. And it was possible for people indeed to switch, and you can find a lot of videos on YouTube that document this journey when people start or in UX design in 6 months, and then they travel, and then they are enjoying remote opportunities. I'm happy for them, and that was the time before. Right now, it's not the time, and you have to commit to UX design. I don't think it makes sense to start on it and just drop out in 2 years, because you're going to spend a lot of time and resources on that, and this way the resources will be wasted. I think that people who started in the pandemic, they sometimes started just because it was easy and they wanted to try it, and there was very little risk in that, because if they wanted to change back or change to another job, it was possible because the market was growing. Right now, I would be more careful, and if that was your aspiration, and if you saw those stories, maybe from your friends who quitted the job, then participated in a very fun and entertaining bootcamp and then immediately started working, that's not going to be a case for you most likely. But at the same time, if you are ready to commit, if you love learning, if you love the craft of UX design, if you love the people around and the opportunities that they will bring, then definitely I think this is a career for you. And as I am also working in the UX design, I'm going to stick with this career. I think it has something for me to offer still, and I'm enjoying working in it day to day. It has certain challenges, it has certain trends that I might not probably like, but still for me the benefits of this career are outweighing the negative sides of it. And I also made a video how I would start in UX design in 2025 if I had to do it one more time. Watch it on my YouTube channel, it is very informative and I break down every best practice that I know. And if you liked this video and you want to receive more videos like that, then hit the subscribe button down below and click the bell. This way you will get a notification when a new video comes out, and I see you next time.